Hi, this is Paolo. I just received this cake and I just tried it once today, this morning, and I'm about to try it again. I'll tell you in a moment why. So this cake, it's one of the various customized or special order teas from Menghai Tea Factory. This one looks like it's probably between the middle to the late 90s. The four characters here says Ye Zheng Shan, that's to say big leaf in the middle of the mountain. And those teas were some of the very first attempts at making only big tree and old tree cakes. This is how the cake looks like inside. Here it is. Really beautiful. You can see that on the outside it's very not compressed, while on the inside it's compressed a lot. You see how tight this is here. This is typical of Menghai Tea Factory productions, and this means that the inside has aged quite a bit less than the outside has. So today I've removed a chunk from the inside, and it was a certain experience. Right now I'm about to remove a chunk from the outside and try it for the first time. So I expect that the outside is much more, much more aged. So you see how easily it pries off. Yeah, it's like really, it's coming apart really easy. Look at that. Well, in comparison, the inside is really, it's really quite hard. You see how tight that is. So yeah, I'm about to have this. What else should I say about this cake? Well, on the Neife here, you can see in the bottom left corner, there is this Thai language. Anyway, that's important because it helps us to tell a little bit better the age of the cake. So as a reminder, particularly in the late 90s and a little bit in the early 2000s, quite a lot as well, but they're not as good quality. There were a lot of the special order tea cakes commissioned to Menghai Tea Factory. The quality varies a lot, but sometimes you can find some that are really good. It's a category that I like to try a lot, and with this one I think we found something really quite good. But yeah, let's try the outside and I'll tell you live what I think of it. So I preheated this to 100 degrees. Mr. Chan bought this cake in 2006 from Taiwan. It was originally commissioned by Hong Kong merchant. I'm gonna give it a relatively nice steep. I'm not gonna flash steep it. Sorry, a relatively long wash. I'm not gonna, because of the kind of because of the age of this tea, it does need a little bit of wash. Obviously, the much higher quality teas of younger ones, we do a flash wash, if anything. But here there's been enough fermentation. It's been almost 25 years, 30 years of aging, so it does need a little bit of a wash. Still, this is not a very long wash. You will see people doing much longer washes than this. See this color, it's so bright. This tea has been stored so dry and clean. I mean, obviously it was stored in Hong Kong at first, so the first few years were not dry. But after that, look at this. 25+-year-old tea that steeps like this. This is really very good dry storage. And it smells like dry store tea. Sweet. Doesn't smell too strong actually, but sweetness is the main thing. I feel like I really want to try this, but I'm gonna behave myself and only have a tiny sip. Right, let's have a real steep now. I had this today. I could steep it quite hard without getting harsh in any way. So I'm gonna try and steep it quite hard from the beginning. Even though, teas like this, teas of this age or older, sometimes the first steep can be a little bit off if you push it a lot, and the wash was not really long, which mine wasn't. But even so, I want to see what I get. Let's see. Color is still bright and orange. In fact, yeah, this could be steeped even more, but let's try what we get from this one. This tea is really comfortable. That's the main impression I had this morning as well. Yeah, it's got like some very nice smoothness and sweetness. From here, from the outside of the cakes, this is completely smooth from the beginning. From the inside, which is much more tight, the first cup or two could be a little bit temperamental. If I steeped it a bit too much, they could be a bit strong. Mildly harsh, like as in astringent and a bit sour. But this one has nothing whatsoever because on the inside it's been aged more. Even though the color looks very similar, I was expecting it to be a bit more red. But I can try and steep the second steep a bit longer. The teapot is pretty full as well. And there's nice hui gum. So not only is sweet before, but there's a little bit more sweetness as returning sweetness. The color is really beautiful. It's really, yeah, the color of dry store, semi-aged puerh. There's a bit of fruit, maybe even stone fruit. But mostly the main thing I get is it's round and smooth and really gentle in a good way. Some smell left in the cup. Let me brew that one quite a bit longer. So you see on the wrapper there are quite a few spots, and the front of the wrapper is also quite destroyed. Now, this paper may actually have been put in a few years after this tea was made. We don't know. Because in the first few years in Hong Kong, it could have been stored really quite aggressively. But yeah, ever since it was taken to Taiwan, which is probably the beginning of the 2000s, and then definitely once Mr. Chen got it in 2006, this has been stored super dry. Okay, this was a steep. This might have been like almost a minute on a semi-aged cake, dry stored. All tea, like most tea, I would expect this to be unbearably astringent and possibly even tart. But this tea has been really gentle until now and really nice and smooth, so I wanted to push it and see what I get. I'm still a bit scared, but let's see. Burping. This tea, when I drank it this morning, I had, after a cup, I had this really big, like chi, very, very noticeable, which makes sense because this appears to be big tree, old tree leaves. Okay, there is a fair bit of astringency even in this one. Okay, it's smooth, but not unbelievably smooth. I mean, it really wouldn't be, yeah, it wouldn't make sense that this would still be smooth. Like a minute steeping on a tea like this is really quite a lot. It's drinkable, but I think I'm gonna pass on this one and have another infusion that's a bit more balanced. Not too light, not too strong. I got carried away talking, so I overstepped that one. Yeah, not amazing. But I would not expect a cake like this to be able to take a steeping like this. Like, I simply wouldn't, no matter how good it is. Cakes of this age are not, particularly when they're stored so dry, they can't take a minute steep on the second steep. I haven't seen a cake that can do that. If they're more aged, sure, then they might. If they are younger, 100% pure ancient tree, again, they might. But this is semi-aged. Is this about right? Yeah, hopefully that was about 25 seconds to 30. Let's see. The smells are not very strong, but what there is, it's really quite nice, sweet. Yeah, kind of sweet, dry store puerh. Ah, this is perfect. Very nice sweetness, smooth, comfortable. Now, if you just started to drink puerh, this idea of comfortable can be a bit strange, but the more you drink it, the more you will realize some teas are harsh in the sense of taste and also in the sense of qi, and some are quite a bit more comfortable and some are extremely so. This is one of the ones that's really extremely so. Generally, older tree is more comfortable. This tea also flows down in the throat very well. Yeah, I notice I don't really have to swallow it. It really goes down really nicely. So yeah, this might be one of the very first experiments in the mid-90s or late 90s where people started to reuse big tree and old tree. It feels more, yeah, it feels better still material than some other cakes we have. Perhaps it's not as strong, but the level of smoothness combined with the dry storage is really quite something. I mean, it made me feel like drinking this twice in a day, which is something I normally would never do. I was really curious how the outside would compare. It's not that different from the inside, actually. Perhaps the inside is not as compressed as I thought. Yeah, some nice aftertaste. The aftertaste of this tea remains for a while. I've had another steep of around maybe 30, maybe probably 40 seconds. The qi of this tea is really strong. I just found myself shutting up and stopping speaking at some point. Yeah, same effect as when I drank it this morning. I just find myself really really pretty strong qi, but very comfortable as well. It's quite impressive. Okay, so a bit of a stronger steep, about 40 seconds. I think we're about steep number 4. Ooh, wow, this is good. This really reminds me a little bit of an old tree tea from the mid-2000s or something, but with more aggressive storage. Yeah, it's so smooth, feels so good on the throat. It doesn't have the strong Menghai bitterness. It has enough bitterness to give it good strength and body. And perhaps the fact it doesn't have a lot of aroma is not great. But everything else about this tea, very impressive. Super smooth, super clean, super comfortable, very good. Okay, just one last steep. This time I'm gonna try and steep it longer again. Really quite impressed. So this cake is part of the Taiwan Collector Experience Squared. It's probably the last video I make this year from the UK as we move to Asia for the winter. And yeah, I just got this today, so I'm gonna put the video live probably today or tomorrow, so it's very much a 0-day release. There's not a lot of this cake, but I am thinking of making a Christmas gift out of it, and have it at a quite low price. Yeah, just as a thank you for the 2 years. Yeah, 2 years of Puerh UK was yesterday, the 19th of December. And I can really feel the chi of this. Okay, just one last tip before I cannot talk anymore from the chi. This color, just still seeing it like this, you can tell the tea is really old because of the complexity and the different flavors and kind of how the flavors have developed. Like this cannot be mid-2000s tea. Also the chi is very much more calming, like an old tea. But still, to see something from the mid to late 90s that steeps this color is amazing. I used to think dry storage was really not worth it, but it's only because mediocrity with dry storage is not worth it. However, teas that are really good with dry storage are so much better than if they are stored more naturally or more wet. And this is a great example. The smoothness and complexity of flavors can only comes with this kind of dry storage. I mean, the smoothness would come also if you store it very wet, but then you will lose all the complexity of flavors. And it wouldn't taste as clean. So while this is everything, clean, complex, and smooth. Very good. All right. Thank you very much for joining me for this, and happy holidays. Woo! This is good.